Hello, grade 8. Welcome to yet another class session. Indeed, it is a pleasure being on board with you once more. How are we doing? Awesome. I am doing well as well. Thank you so much for asking. All right. Just in case you have any questions, any concerns, let go ahead and let me just address them at the moment. Do you have any questions? No? Any concerns? All right, since there are no questions, we're going to jump right into this session. I am happy that you're doing well. I want for us to get our laptop charger or phone charger, whatever it is that you need for this session. Ensure that you get them so we're able to just be on board and stay on board until the session is over. All right, so I'm going to share with you my screen so you're able to view the objectives. All right, so we're going to review the objectives. So let me just go ahead and share my screen with you. All right, so it's taking a little while to come up. Taking a little while. All right, so here goes. So again, we're looking at George Lamming's story, Catching Crabs. Yes? Let me just double check if the screen is sharing. So by the end of this session, yes, we've started it yesterday in last class. You're going to use context clues to find the meaning of unfamiliar words, identify at least 3 pairs of synonyms from this story, share your experience, whether it's vicarious or personally about crops related using standard Jamaican English. You're going to identify at least 2 homonyms from the story. You're going to answer comprehension questions correctly, identify important details from the story, identify the elements of the story, identify figures of speech used by the writer, and also we're going to know who the writer is, the author. Yes? So those are our objectives in which we have reviewed. All right? So last class, as I said, we started looking at George Lamming's short story. So indeed, we're going to continue with this session with our discussion. All right? So, what I want for you to do, you're going to identify 3 pairs of synonyms forming the story. Go ahead and identify 3 pairs of synonyms. All right, so now you're going to identify 2 homonyms. 2 homonyms. And I'm pretty sure that you can recall we've done these in previous lessons, right? So you should just be gearing up for this, just running through it when we talk about homonyms. So 2 of them. Are we finished? Are we finished? We should be finished by now, yes? So again, you're identifying 3 pairs of synonyms, and then you're identifying 2 homonyms. All right, so I'm trusting that you have completed that, yes? So I'm going to display the story on the screen, just as we've done it last class, right? So I'm going to share with you my screen. Just a moment. So my screen is coming up shortly. All right, so I'm gonna get my timer. Yes, I love my timer, Daniel. You know about it. I really love my timer. I'm going to give you about 6 minutes. I think 6 minutes should be enough. Yes? To read the story silently, that is. Right? So I'm going to display it now so you're able to view accordingly. So as I said, you're going to read the short story, you're going to read it silently. And when you do so, ensure that you pay attention to the figures of speech, right? So let's go. Let's get the timer on.
Your favorite pair of shoes. Buy them with peace of mind. Shop.
All right, that is running out. All right, so I know that was more than 6 minutes, yes? It was a bit lengthier than thought, right? That's okay. All right, so I'm gonna stop the timer. I'm gonna stop the timer. All right. Now, having read the story silently, right? Having read the story silently, what is it that we know about the author? Yes, you have read the story and you know who wrote it, who is the author, right? You're paying attention to the figures of speech, but it is crucial that we know about the author. So, what is it that we know about this author? This author, who is he? Let's discuss. Who is he? Any idea? Any views on this? All right, so I'm hearing that he's from Barbados. Yes. Okay, he's a novelist. Anything else? He's a writer. So when we talk about George Lamming, I'm going to share with you some information, some background information about him. Yes? So when we talk about George Lamming, I'm going to try to get a picture in which I can display as well. Right? So when we talk about him in full, his name is George William Lamming. And he was born June 8, 1927. That's a long time, yes? And indeed, he's from Barbados. Right. So in full is from Carrington Village. So he's from Carrington Village, Barbados. And he's a West Indian novelist, right? And an essayist who wrote about decolonization and reconstruction in the Caribbean nations. At Combermere High School, Lamming studied under Frank Collymore, editor of the Caribbean Literacy Journal, BIM, which published some of the Lamming's early work. So Lamming left Barbados and worked as a teacher in Trinidad from 1946 to 1950 before settling in England. His highly acclaimed first novel, I think this is very famous as well. This novel, in the Kettle of My Skin. So in the Castle of My Skin, I think he's really known for this novel. And it was written in 1953. Yes? Is an autobiographical set against the backdrop of the nationalism in the British colonies of the Caribbean in 1930s and 40s. And Lamming continued to study decolonization in his preceding three novels. So The Immigrants, which was written in 1954, a despairing fragmentary work about Caribbean immigrants in post-World War II England. He also wrote about another novel which would have been Of Age and Innocence, that was written in 1958, and also Seasons of Adventure. So he wrote quite a few, but as I stated, that In the Castle of My Skin would be the main one in which, he got famous for. So once you hear about Lamming, you should be able to remember that he is a novelist, yes, and as was rightfully said, he's from Barbados. He resided in England, so he left from his born town or country. He was teaching in Trinidad and then he migrated to England. All right, and he's known, like he has been known for the novel In the Castle of My Skin. All right, so looking at this the figurative devices. We have touched on quite a few in previous lessons. Yes? So we've touched on quite a few of them. We did onomatopoeia, we looked at personification, some common ones such as the simile and the metaphors, right? We look at hyperbole. We did a lot of them. So I'm pretty sure that you're able to now readily identify some of the figures of speech that Lammings actually pay attention to in his story that he focused on. So talk to me. Let me get my screen. Where is my screen? Let me get my screen on. So having read this story, what are some of the devices in which we identified? All right. So similarly, let me just write it here. George Lammings. Lamm. And we said it is catching crops. All right, so let's pay attention to this. What were some of the figurative devices in which you've identified? All right, so I'm hearing simile, SIMI. All right, what else? Metaphors, okay. METAPHOR. Anything else? Anything else? All right, no. All righty, not a problem. Let us see. Let us just pay attention to these. So you were saying you saw similes with an S and metaphors, yes? All righty, let us see. So where did you come about seeing the simile? Where did you saw the simile? In the first stanza? All right, so share it with us. What it says. All right, very good, very good. So indeed, one of the literary device in which was used, yeah, the simile, right? And it says, and the claws cut like blades, and the claws cut like blades. Awesome. Anything else for the metaphor? Share the line. These little crops had that quality, small, enchanting bits of furniture with which the shore was decorated. Alrighty. But guess what? We also have irony there, you know. Remember we touched on irony? Yes, so there's a use of irony. Because remember, when Boy Blue stated, he said something about being drowned, and the fisherman was being ironic because the fisherman says, cause the fisherman rather, he stated that, I should not save Boy Blue. But then the ironic part about it was when Boy Blue turned to the fisherman and said, cause if I drown, I wouldn't have been able to tell you thanks. So what kind of irony that would be? I'm hearing situational. It would be verbal, right? Verbal irony. Yes? So indeed, there's a use of the irony. So when the fisherman asked Boy Blue why he didn't have just left him to drown, right? Boy Blue simply say, because if I drown, I wouldn't have been able to tell you thanks. That's what Boy Blue actually stated, in the last two paragraphs there. Boy Blue's answer shows that he values the fun he was having catching the crab, right? Catching the crabs rather, enough to even have a brush with death. So that is the ironic part about it. The fisherman is confused and really disgusted because he doesn't understand Boy Blue's philosophy of living life to the fullest. And many of us maybe would be wondering, what is it that Boy Blue is so fascinated with catching of crabs that he would even go ahead to risk his own life, right, in order to catch these crabs, right? So indeed, the writer uses irony. So let me put that on the screen. Let me put that on the screen as well. So take note of that. He uses irony, yes? Let me change this and put another color there. And I'm going to put it in capital letters. So irony. And in bracket, you can put verbal, right? So remember, we look at the types rather, right? So take note of that. Alrighty, so take note of that, yes? So what I want for you to do, having read the story and being aware of some of the figurative devices, how about the elements of the story? How about the elements? We're reasoning. How about the elements? Come to think of it, what are the elements of the story? Talk to me, grade 8. Talk to me. We're discussing what are the elements. All right, so I'm getting the setting. Let me write it down. All right. So the elements. If you realize I part my screen, so ensure that you write it as is in your book as well, in the sense that you don't mix up the figures of speech. Yes. Figures of speech. And these are the elements of the story, right? So we have what? What do we have? So I'm hearing the setting. Yes, we have the setting. We have the characters, right? All right, so I'm just going to put the starting of it. So we have the setting. We have C for characters. What else we have? Okay, plot. Theme, yes. The theme is quite important. The resolution, all right. There are more elements to a story, but usually, I think in high school we usually focus on five of them. But not to worry, as time goes by, you will learn the other elements, right? Indeed, you will learn about them. So looking at catching crabs, George Lamming's story, what's the setting of it? You've read the story a number of times now. What is the setting? I'm not hearing. What is the setting? All right. So it's by the sea, yes? And who is there with him? Who is there with the main character? His friends, yes. All right. So how about the characters? How about the characters? Are you able to list them, to name them? All right. So I'm hearing Boy Blue. Mm-hmm. Talk to me, grade 8. Talk to me. Talk to me about the characters. Okay, how about the plot? How about the plot? How about the plot? All right, how about the theme? All right, it seems like we're going to get an assignment pretty soon, yes? So we need to know about the elements already. So in relation to this, we're going to do our activity, right? We're going to do an activity. So keep that in mind about the elements of a story because we're coming right to that. We're coming right back to that for sure. All right, so what for your activity, let me just I'm going to read them to you and you're going to place your answers, right? So I'm going to ask you some questions and you're going to respond. You're able to write them down. You're able to write them down in your book, in your books rather, yes? So listen carefully. The first question is, what is the story about? So having read the story over and over, what is it about? What is the story about? Number two, why do you think the fisherman was being ironic when he saved Boy Blue's life? Why do you think he was being ironic? And number three, in your opinion, what do you think? What do you think of the protagonist? So, in your opinion, what do you think of the protagonist? So, you're going to respond to those questions, right? And for your assignment, this is a big assignment now, yes? For your assignment, what you're going to do, you're going to reread the story. So, you need to read the story. If you need to read it 1, 2, 3, 4 times to get it, right? In order to get the elements of the story and to read upon what are the elements, yes? You're going to read the story and you're going to highlight the elements of the story. Yes? I see you have a gist of it. So now you're going to take the time and you're going to dig deeper, find the elements because we will be going over these, right? Having done so, you're also going to add supporting details. So any other important detail that you want to add, then you're free to do so. All right? Any questions? Any concerns? No questions, no concerns? Not a problem. So you're going to take the time, you're going to complete your activity, after which you're going to focus there on your assignment. Remember, it is crucial that you do so, right? Because we will be focusing on these. It was indeed my pleasure being on board with you. And since we have no questions, we have no concerns, Remember, read up about George Lamming's short story that is, yes, Catching Crops. So until then, bye for now.